Anything in 24 hours. Today I wanted to share a bit of a testimony with everyone as a word of encouragement and a big dose of reality all balled into one. 2 weeks ago we were served with an eviction notice. Derek lost his job as he didn't have the gas nor the money to travel 2 hours for training for 12 weeks. Anywho, we spent about a week and a half calling every place we could trying to find a way to get the landlord over $1,000 and nothing was happening. No one had funding, no one could help. Honestly, I started to feel desperate. I even started a GoFundMe and got a whole $135 from it, which would do nothing for what we owed, as they wanted the whole amount due or we had to leave. About a week ago, we went to H&R Block to try to get a loan against our taxes, and we were denied because I don't make enough money to support our family. I mean, duh. That's what we're here for. Well, as we were getting ready to print out and prepare to leave, we get a call from my school asking me to come into the campus ministry office and meet with Mr. Klein, who is head of the university's alumni association. I had never met nor heard of him, so I was a bit confused as to why he wanted to meet with me. When I got there, he simply stated that he wanted to meet with me and talk with me. He said he was emailed by one of my classmates in my project group from my Worldview class, and they emailed him about a video I did on Facebook. It was a video I posted talking about everything I was going through, as I felt God was pressing in my heart for me to be transparent about what we were dealing with in an effort to reach people who were going through the same thing. Mr. Klein then spoke to the alumni of the school, and they all came together and gave a check for $600 towards my eviction. We spoke to the landlord and asked if it would stop the eviction since it was over half of what was due, and they said yes. So we were safe, or at least I thought. Monday comes and we get served with a 24-hour notice for eviction. I was confused and upset because we literally just paid the $600 days ago. I called the landlord and they claimed there was a miscommunication. That when I specifically asked them if the payment would stop the eviction and they said yes, they meant yes, we'll take the money, not yes, they'll stop the eviction. We all know that was a flat out lie, but anyways. They had decided to add this month's rent plus more fees to the eviction, so we were back owing them over $1,000. So here I was. By this time I've made all the calls I could make, done all I knew in my power to do, made all the pleas I could make, and all that to no avail. I sat at my desk in pure tears, not knowing what would happen. I emailed my boss, who is in Mexico on business, and told him I would be out Tuesday, most likely headed to find a shelter for me and my kids. Then literally as I sent the email, God brought back the vision of Derek and I facing the same situation in Florida. We came home in October 2013 to a 24-hour notice on the door. I literally sat there on my back porch with a Black and Mild in one hand and a Bible in the other. Look, don't judge, just listen. I lit that black and began to smoke. Then I literally heard God say, put that out and worship me. Worship me because it's already done. So I literally put the black out and began to sing worship. The kids came out the house and sang with me as well. Minutes later, a friend pulls up alongside Derek and he smiles as he says God was doing something big for us and he wanted a front row seat. We looked at him crazy given the circumstances, and as we began to tell him about what was going on, I got a call from our realtor saying a place had become available and we could move in as soon as that night. We began to cry and sing as our friend recorded us. So with that in mind, I went to the bathroom and began to pray. I asked God to give me peace because no matter how I felt or what I saw, I truly believe He can do anything in 24 hours. I got back to my desk to a text message saying there was an anonymous company who was donating $500 towards our rent. They said they could pay it first thing in the morning. Then within the hour, I got an email from a Cash for Cars company offering $500 for our car that had been sitting in our yard since the transmission blew. I was beside myself. I called the landlord to tell him, and he yelled at me to stop calling and hung up. I had called a bunch of times during the day trying to work out a deal with them, and they were pretty much tired of me. I got upset and took a minute to really pray. I mean, really pray. God said, call again. But this time, be quiet and let him get it all out first. Then talk softly. So I did just that. I called and he answered very rudely. He said the whole stop calling, we can't help you, pay up or get out stuff. When he was done saying all that, I politely told him that we had a company paying $500 and could have the rest within a day or two. I told him we would have the balance paid in full and that we wanted to avoid eviction. He stayed quiet for a while and then said, okay, I'll stop the eviction since you'll have the balance paid by the end of the week. Have a nice night. Yep, that's the kind of God we serve. This was beyond a humbling experience for Derek and I. This was a learning experience. And that company ended up giving $600 instead of $500, so we don't have to put any of our own money in it at all. Derek started a supervisor position on the 16th as well. He's starting a supervisor position. This has brought us as a family even closer than we already were, and I find that to be the greatest blessing above on any of the money. We've bonded together in our marriage and with the kids as we're learning to be transparent with them as well. Even though they're young, we want them to know it and see what God is doing. We want them to see God provide and make a way out of no way, not just through ministers who are preaching to them, but in their very own homes and lives. Why? Because ministry and intimacy starts with God. Intimacy. Into me, see. All this to say and remind you all that God is faithful. And he may not do things in the timing that we want, but he's always on time. God can truly do anything in 24 hours. Until next time, be blessed.